What's good, everybody out there? I hope everybody's well and you're having a blessed day. This is Rap Mythology. Welcome. Thank you for watching and tuning in. It's the reincarnation of Ramakrishna, Heyoka Empath, kicking that brand new flavor in your ear. So today I'm going to talk about the Heyoka Empath being a human lie detector and what it's like from my experience. So lately I'm realizing that I have this gift. I think it's just a natural protection that a Heyoka is born with. When I was growing up, I didn't realize, or I didn't think of it as a strength or a gift. I thought I was the same as everybody. Now, as an adult, and I look back at my life, and now I see the way I think and how I'm spiritual and different from most people. I understand how I was different when I was little, but I couldn't see it then. One of the first reasons, and this is a really deep wound that I had to deal with. Why I know I have this gift is because I remember being lied to when I was about 4 years old by my mother. She was walking me to school. We was living in Mount Vernon, New York. We were walking down 3rd Avenue, and I remember her telling me, I'm walking you to school now, but soon I got to go to work or something like that. You're going to have to walk to school by yourself. Now, when the light is green, you go. When the light is red, you stop. She said it casually. And I remember thinking to myself, that's not right. You know what I'm saying? Now, it kind of is right from a driver's perspective, but from a person's walking perspective, that's not right. And I remember knowing that and feeling that at 4 years old, that she wasn't telling me the truth. But I'm 4, I didn't say nothing, you know what I mean? I just kind of brushed it off and kept it moving. But before I even had a chance to walk to school by myself, my father and my grandmother got custody of me. All my grandmother's daughters had issues with abandonment in their children. And it stemmed from the way that my grandmothers raised them. So I grew up with my father, and my father had, I'd say, like a new girlfriend every couple of years. So he had a lot of women as I grew up with him. And I realized that this was actually a blessing. I thought that, I used to think my father as a player and whatnot, and I kind of took on this characteristic from him and whatnot. And I thought he was like kind of leading me down the wrong path growing up. But I realized that I took on the strengths out of all the women's personalities that he dealt with. I took on their strengths and their weaknesses too. But this was a blessing, you know what I mean? Because it gave me a lot of character, and I got to be under the influence of a lot of different women, and got to see a lot of different personalities and whatnot, and took on all the strengths out of all the different women's personalities that he dealt with. So my father, for the most part, never lied to me. He kept things hidden. You know what I mean? Like, stuff he was doing with his friends, weed and all that, girls and all that. He didn't tell me everything. He kept things hidden, but for the most part, he never told me a lie. So in relationships, now I can see how this has affected me. And this was my expectation for people upon meeting them. I expected my brotherly relationships or friendships. I expected to never to be lied to and for everything to always be kept real. With girls, I took lying like really harshly. And I realized it happened in 2 ways. Either I would cut the girl off, right, like immediately after I figured out the lie, or I would get real clingy and like attached and fear abandonment, you know what I'm saying, with the girl. So I took lying very hard growing up. Friends, if once you lied to me, I cut you off. I didn't want nothing to do with you anymore. I lost all my trust for you. Girls, same thing. So I ghosted a lot of people growing up. guys and girls. So growing up, I would consider myself a dark empath. I would sleep. I didn't have the knowledge of how my parents and the relationship with my parents and the programming that I got through school and TV, movies, and things like that. I didn't realize how these things affected me. So I would exhibit certain behaviors in relationships due to my programming. Due to this instinct I had, right, that I could see that somebody was lying to me, I took it very hard. I lost a lot of friends and family members, and I was pretty harsh with my sword. I could see when teachers was doing it, but as a kid, I really didn't have a voice. I couldn't. My parents were very strict. I had a stepmother for a while, and my father was strict growing up, elementary school and whatnot. So I couldn't really, be like, oh, this chick is lying and express my opinion like that. I kind of had to really respect authority and, whatever the teacher said or whatever the adults said, that's kind of what went when I was growing up. So a lot of times, you could see that people was lying, but I couldn't really say anything about it. Now, as I've gotten older and I have more understanding, I have more compassion for people that may lie to me or keep things hidden from me, because I understand the process. I understand the trauma that they went through. I understand the flaws in human design. My kids lied to me, and I can't cut them off. I love them unconditionally. And I had to learn a lesson about that in the past life. I loved everybody unconditionally. And, I think I worshipped people that probably didn't deserve for me to be worshiping them. And that was a huge lesson that I think I just learned in this life. The one of the major lessons that I came here to learn. I think I finally got it. Within these past few years. I already had this knack being able to tell that somebody's lying to me, but in the end, I don't have no friends because of it. Because everybody lied to me. And then I cut them off. Oh, man, no, I'm just playing, but I lost a lot of people, right? But because of that, it made me really dig deep and study why do people lie. And I started studying psychology and the art of conversation and, astrology, and I started seeing what makes people tick. And then I learned a lot from Brother Panic, too, that there is a flaw in the human design. The human body, the human brain, the baby brain, it's a flaw in its design, and it can be programmed and manipulated. So upon awakening, you're able to see the biggest lie ever told when you awaken from what they call the spell of Leviathan. When you start seeing that the government doesn't have your best interests in mind, and the education is not for your best interests, and the financial system is not built for you to make it, and so on and so forth. All the conspiracies and 9/11, and the government claims to be, righteous and democratic and all the above, but there's still a secret agenda trying to manipulate you. Once you can see this in a government, devil energy works the same from the top all the way down to the bottom. It works the same way. It has the same way of maneuvering, of manipulating. So trying to figure out why people lie is when I got to narcissism. Why do people want to manipulate and control? That's when I started studying narcissism, and everything just came together and made sense. Because of the programming, all the way from the government, from to your parents, as a child, being brought up, all this trauma that's inflicted on you has an influence on your mind and the way you behave when you become older. It's very likely that you're going to develop some type of narcissistic traits in your personality, even if you didn't like your parents growing up and you don't want to be nothing like them. There's something that you probably take on from their characteristics. So becoming conscious is realizing your programming from school, from your parents, and acknowledging that and facing that and seeing how that's influenced your behavior, and realizing that you are greater than that, and changing and moving forward and being and walking this earth as your true self, as your higher self, and going after your life purpose. And it's hard for people to do that, especially people that have not come here to serve a higher purpose. Everybody's dealing with this side of humanity now in the ego. So I began to have compassion for people that may have lied to me because I understood their trauma, depending on what it is, but most of the time I can understand their trauma and what they've been through and the flaw in the human design itself and what that person is going through and why they feel like they need to lie to control and manipulate a situation. That's why I call it devil energy, because it's manipulating, it's controlling you. I'm a Scorpio, Sun in Vedic, Venus in Scorpio and Western. So the way my mind works, I'm like a detective, right? I want to get to the bottom of everything. Once I, have the instinct and I see that you're lying to me, now I question, what's your motive? What is your motive for lying to me? Once I figure out the motive, and then I might dance circles around your head for a little while and play with you and, see how far you're going to take the lie. And I'm going to go along with it and play along like an actor, you know what I mean? And play along with your lies just to get you even deeper in it and catch you even in it more, or get you stuck, or put an exclamation point on it for me. And that's what makes Scorpio intimidating. I guess it's no coincidence I'm a Heyoka Empath and a Scorpio Sun in Vedic. I have a good instinct to feel and see what you're trying to hide. Sometimes the person might not even be lying. It might be something that you're just not saying at all. Let's say cheating in a relationship, for instance, right? Once you get into a committed relationship, especially if the word marriage comes up, and you're headed in that direction, in my beliefs, or the way I would handle a relationship, I would be open and honest about like whoever I'm dating and cutting off, or you know what I'm saying, just in case anything comes up, or we might be walking together and I see my ex or something like that. Now you surprised and then this one surprised, and it's all this old big drama and all of that. If we trying to go somewhere and go further, go into a committed relationship, a long-term relationship, it's better to be honest, in my opinion, about that things up front. So just in case something does happen, or something comes up, there's, in my case, there's kids in a relationship or something like that. If we see my kid's mother somewhere, it ain't no surprises and all of that. Everything is out in the open and up front and honest, so that to keep the long-term commitment secure. So that's how I approach a long-term, relationship, right? So we're talking about cheating in a relationship, right? So let's say, you come with that energy when you're talking to somebody and they respond back. There's something called love bombing, right? Where a person will put you up on a pedestal and maybe treat you like a god, or with a lot of respect, in order for you to reciprocate that same type of energy back to them. And then once you're kind of giving that same energy back to them, they'll cut it off and start trying to manipulate and control you to serve their own ego and things like that. This is what a narcissist does. A narcissist has a god complex and will never admit that they did anything wrong. Will never apologize. Even you never hear the words "I'm sorry" out of their mouth. So it was hard. Trying to understand, why would somebody love bomb me? Like you know what I'm saying? It's hard, but it's devil energy. It works the same way. The government love bombing you right now too. You understand narcissism. You will understand why people lie. And what are people's motives for wanting to manipulate and control you? The newly awakened person is grappling with ego deaths, and throughout the lifespan, there are like quite a few ego deaths or whatever, rebirths. You know what I mean? Transformations. In the spiritual path, you go through these things. So the best thing that describes it, in my opinion, is Matrix. In the Matrix, Neo, when he's fighting that dude in the suit or whatever, when he goes into the this world, or when he goes into the earthly world, and he's always fighting this dude, and they're always chasing him. This agent, that's the ego, right, of humanity. Neo is in that black suit. That's the pineal gland, or the spiritual side of humanity. Right? Neo's world is like the spiritual world, right? Where his reality is, and then he goes into the matrix, into the physical worlds. And then you see the spiritual war between the technology, the machines or whatever, and the spiritual, and the spirits. Throughout the whole movie, he's fighting his own ego, right? That's trying to hold on to humanity, right? I don't know. In the last movie, I've been watching The Matrix a lot lately. In the last movie, like they having a fight, the kind of final fight, and Neo punches him into like the street, and he like jumps out of the street or whatever, and he's like, "This is my world" or whatever. You know what I mean? The ego wants to hold on into this world of humanity and kind of block you from your spirituality, and that's to protect you, right? Because if you were all the way spiritual, right? If you're like, "Yo, my soul lives forever. I don't really care about this human body. Like, I'm good anyway. My soul is forever. This is an illusion. This ain't even real, right? Who cares if I walk across the street and this car hit me right now? Like, well, I'm gonna live forever. Like, this shit isn't even real. Like, you know what I'm saying? I could jump off this fucking window right now. Like, my soul is good. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you had that attitude, you would commit suicide or die, right? Like in a week. But I'm like, yo, I can't get hit by this bus. I gotta do this YouTube video later, and I gotta give my kids something to eat. Your ego is here to protect you, or else if you was like, yo, my soul is forever, like I'm ready to be out, you would commit suicide. You know what I'm saying? So part of the ego death, right, is acknowledging the spiritual part of yourself, right, and that and realize that your ego is there to hold on to humanity, but you are gonna pass away, and there's a certain side to you, right, that your ego kind of blocks you from reaching to a certain point, and you kind of grapple with that as you become more spiritual and spiritual. Like when you're first trying to meditate, your ego is like telling you, nah, chill, like it's humanity. Your ego, you're constantly having this internal war between your higher self and your physical body. Your body wants to do one thing, have addictions, smoke, you know what I'm saying, have a girlfriend on the side or whatever, like, and your higher self wants to be better than that and do higher things and go towards your higher purpose. So it's like you're always kind of having a war between the two, especially when you're newly awakening, right? And that's what makes it so hard. That's what makes it so practical. Because you have to change all this conditioning and programming since you were born. So these ego deaths are going to occur as you do shadow work, right? Shadow work is finding out the unknown parts of yourself. Shadow work can be bad too. Like, if you're dealing with poverty or something like that, you got to face poverty. Yeah, that could be a bad part too. But it's shadow work is not always a bad thing. Finding your spiritual gifts or knowing your past life, knowing, going into the dream world and knowing, who you are, what's your soul's name, the unknown parts of yourself. This is shadow work. The programming that's in your subconscious mind, right? Realizing that it's there and doing the shadow work to unbreak it. So, you might not know exactly all the programming that's in your subconscious. So that's kind of the shadow work, is facing the trauma that your parents put you through, realizing how it affected your behavior, okay, and knowing that, okay, I act this way, but I got to take the steps in order to change, or, you know what I'm saying, start going more towards my higher self. So I'm Callie's son, an ego killer. When I awoke, and the first thing I wanted to know is, who am I? I wanted to uncover these hidden parts of myself. That's always what it was for me. And you'll know that's what will separate the real spiritual from the fake, is people that can face their shadow side, right? That can face their weaknesses, or the flaws that they have, right, due to their subconscious programming. People that can really face themselves and admit that they're flawed. People that don't have a huge ego. That's how you can tell immediately from the real and the fake in spirituality. So you have all types of people out there, great speakers giving speeches. You see it all the time with the ministers, and they're really like doing, all kind of crazy stuff behind the congregation's back and whatnot. But you can tell immediately if they're real, if they face the darker side of themselves, if they're willing to face their shadow side and admit that because of their trauma that they have these flaws and they need to change them in order to do better. People could talk about saving humanity and all of that, but you can't save nobody really until you save yourself. To face your shadow side is to save yourself. Again, I'm a Scorpio, Heyoka Empath, old soul. So for me, I realize it's going to be easier because I'm hardwired to do this. I'm hardwired to look at the darker aspects of myself, to face my shadow side. Like, I'm hardwired to do that. So somebody that's not wired like me, or has different points in the astrological chart than I do. We all have different, signs in our chart and whatnot, and that's what kind of makes us hardwired to act the way that we do as well. So it's kind of like what the astrological chart gives you is a few scenarios of how it could play out. If you kind of lived a little bit more on the negative side or whatever, it's going to play out like this. If you was raised a little bit more on the positive side, it could play out like that. So I realized that, humanity is struggling with this, like struggling with the ego. People are going in their lifespan are going through ego deaths. Some might not be as intense as others, but everybody along their life is going through certain levels and learning experiences, and I realize that now. So I have a lot more compassion for somebody who's lying to me, but at the same time I realize that when you're in that state, I can't really be around you because it's going to affect me, you know what I mean? Because you might have, self-doubt, or feel like you have to manipulate and control to get your way. It could have an effect on me in a negative way, where there's something that you do hurts my feelings, right? For me to create, be in a good, positive state, you know what I'm saying, to getting money, achieving my goals, I need to be in a good mood, right? So if you constantly lying to me and hurting my feelings, or keeping something hidden, right, I can't really be around you that much. I can only be around you to a certain extent. But before I think my feelings is going to get hurt, right, or you're going to bring me down to a lower state, or to your state, I got to kind of keep my distance a little bit. So I've learned to have boundaries with people, you know what I mean? Took me a long time, man. Oh man, my damn karmic. Oh my gosh, I was so open off of this girl. She didn't say, she barely said anything to me, but it was just that she looked so much like me, man, and moved like me and whatnot. Oh man, I couldn't get over that shit. I ain't never fallen so hard for somebody, but she taught me the most valuable lessons of life, though. You know what I mean? That's when I learned about all that narcissism shit, all of that, you know what I mean? So it's like I hate her and I love her at the same time, because she taught me so much, but she was so mean. But it's your karmics and these people that lie to you or whatever that you go through it with, you got to take the lesson out of that experience so that you can advance to another level out of it. Whenever I see somebody, right, I'm always saying, okay, now everybody is in a reflection of me. I understand that all souls, we're all separate souls, but we're also all linked together. So it's really one giant soul looking out of a whole bunch of different bodies. You're a reflection of me. So whenever I encounter somebody in my life or somebody comes within my space, my immediate thought is, what is this person trying to teach me? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I can learn something about their shadow side, maybe something that they're doing great. Sometimes spiritual messages come through, but I'm always looking at this person as a reflection of them. It could be a bum on the street. You know what I mean? What is this person trying to teach me? How is this person a reflection of me? What is this person showing me about myself? So if this person is lying to me and manipulate me, who am I trying to lie to, and who am I trying to manipulate? You understand what I'm saying? This person's trying to control me. Is that showing me? That's usually shows me the controlling part of myself, because I realized that too about myself, is that I was trying to control everything. My kids' little basketball career, my relationship. I was trying to control everybody's behavior and what they did, and move the way I wanted them to move on the chessboard. My son's getting older now. He wants to move how he wants to move, and I'm realizing that it's not my place. It even says it in my natal chart to show him my softer side, and right now is not the time to analyze and critique his behavior so much. This was a huge lesson I had to learn, was not to try to control other people's behavior and be detached. And when somebody's doing something that I can't rock with, to just let it go and let them do their thing, and not to try to control them or control the situation. When somebody's lying to me, is what I'm thinking is what's their motive? If your motive is for me to worship you or for you to manipulate and control me, well, that's not happening. You know what I mean? That's a person that I gotta have boundaries, pretty tight boundaries with, and keep my distance. But if my son is lying to me because, if I ask him, did you eat up all the cookies, and he says no, and what's the motive? It's because he's trying to control the whole cookie situation and take all the cookies for himself. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? So I guess, there's certain levels to it, but even then I might have to develop a boundary with him and the cookies. You understand what I'm saying? So, it's just a bunch of, it's just life lessons, man. You know what I mean? That we gotta learn. That could kind of explain how I'm a human lie detector. Maybe all of that could summarize up how a Heyoka Empath is a human lie detector. Very intuitive. We're very intuitive people, and then we're gonna study everything. In my case, study human behavior, psychology, conversation, manipulation, the magic. I didn't see it all. I didn't see people get controlled with magic spells. So a spiritual, intuitive person, the sacred clown, Heyoka Empath, is going to examine all of these things when it comes to lying. And that's very intimidating to another person that's trying to especially play games in a relationship, or has an idea that you could be psychic and whatnot, and it causes other people to be guarded when they're dealing with you. If they don't have a genuine intention, you'll notice that they'll be very guarded. It's just a safety. You're a very valuable person on earth. You're a very special diamond on earth, and that's your self-protection. That intuition to know when somebody's lying to you, that's your protection. You can always ask spirit if this person is good for you. Ancestors, I do it all the time. Is this the right person for me? Should I be in this relationship? Do I need to stay in this relationship, or should I move on? What's going to help me serve my highest good? And then I have a dream telling me what I should do. Sometimes it's hard to decode the dream. I had to go through that. I had to learn how to recognize symbology in the dream. A car might be going by with a song playing that's talking about exactly this, the situation that I'm in. You know what I mean? So it might be subtle, but you just gotta pick up on it. But I guess this is what a Heyoka Empath is good at. But we're going to leave it there, y'all. Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe. Like, dislike, all that good stuff. I hope this helped. All right, but we're going to leave it there. It's Rap Mythology, the reincarnation of Ramakrishna. A Heyoka Empath, kicking that brand new flavor in your ear. Peace.